Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer, and welcome to the episode 43 of season 7 here on the Virtual CISO Moment. Today we have Wesley Widner joining us. He is the founder of White Hat Wes Cybersecurity. Wes, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me be here and get to talk to you.
So I got a little bit thrown off while we were starting the recording of the music and everything because I can't remember if this is the same way the setup for the guests, but I can see like the two screens like of whether we're in the recording studio or not. I can see like they call it the green room. And usually what I do like right before getting started is I situate myself like that. And I noticed that you and I did that exactly synchronized.
It's like, got to get that posture and professionalism going.
Absolutely. And it just threw off my thought process. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm recording a podcast. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited to be here. It's something I've been looking forward to.
Well, I would love to hear your story. I know a lot about your story. And I don't get a chance to connect to my guests as much in person as I'd like to, but I was very happy that we actually connected in Huntsville. It was besides Huntsville in like Mayish or something, right?
Yes, sir. I believe so. It was.
Yeah.
I know it was B-sides, but months kind of drifting away.
I'm guessing that's about what it was because I think it was the same month, or almost the same time that B-sides Nashville was, and I was coming back from the Southeast Cyber Summit in Birmingham, Alabama. And I decided, well, since I'm having to drive back up to Nashville, I might as well stop by. But tell us your story, Wes. Start from the beginning. I mean, you don't have to start with, well, I was born,
So
let me hear
prior to
your
being
story.
So prior to being in cybersecurity, I was a law enforcement officer for the Huntsville Police Department. And so once I met my wife currently, my girlfriend at the time, and the admiration to always have a family, I kind of made the conscious decision that, law enforcement isn't always best for the home life. It can cause a lot of stress. And so I called one of my former coaches, Garrett Martz, and asked him, hey, I'm thinking about doing something different, whether it be a backup plan or something that I take immediate action on. And he very clearly just said, get your Security Plus and start learning a lot about information assurance and cybersecurity. And from that point on, it was a daily grind and a privilege to be able to go through that process of learning any aspect of IT, both technical and non-technical. And so for me, the biggest catalyst was networking on LinkedIn. I had posted on LinkedIn asking for an internship. I wasn't asking for money. I was just wanting experience and exposure. And I was fortunate enough to have you repost that. And I got to meet my very good friend, Stephen Jones, who ultimately got me my first job as a cybersecurity analyst.
So I want to just stop on that for a second. And I'm so happy that happened because I love hearing success stories of when I have heard, well, let me back up. I've heard people say that, I mean, why do you like comment for visibility or share for exposure or whatever, those sorts of posts? And I'm like, because occasionally it actually does get the right person in front of the right employer or organization and magic happens. It doesn't happen all that often, but it will never happen if you don't try it. So I encourage folks on LinkedIn, please share those things. It's like, I mean, you could, so much of success in our field is exactly that, is networking. And it's not like networking, it's not who you know type, or it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not exactly that. It's just getting out and making those connections because it does bear fruit.
It does 100%. And kind of like you said, it doesn't always come into, getting that job opportunity, but being able to network and meet people in the industry, outside of the industry, that can provide different perspectives is always a benefit. I've learned so much from following people on LinkedIn, messaging them, and just coming with a mindset of, I don't want anything from you, but the opportunity to know what you know through your posts, through your interactions, and build that actual human connection to where it's not, oh, he's going to ask me for something. It's like he genuinely wants to know what I know. He's interested about me, and he wants to build that relationship over everything. And I think that's more important than going, hey, Greg, can you get me a job? It's, hey, Greg, you're smart. You're a good human being. I want to get to know you. I know you know a lot, and I'm passionate about learning.
And I hate continuously interrupting you on your story. I don't usually do that, but you bring up another good point, and I've mentioned this on LinkedIn too. It's like what does not work is reaching out and saying, hey, could I have 15 or 30 minutes of your time? I just want to pick your brain about the cybersecurity field and how to get in and all that. That never works if we don't have an established relationship. It's like our times are so valuable, and I get that so much, and I would love to be able to do that for everybody. But it's like I have to work, I have to provide for my family, I have to provide for my stomach, I have to provide for my future, my retirement. I mean, it's not as if that people exist to be able to be free resources. So ask me questions, ask other folks questions on the side. Do a DM, and maybe you can have that conversation back and forth. That's a little bit easier to manage. Or as you said, it's like really read people's posts, because a lot of the questions I get, there's stuff that's I post on and other people post on all the time. It's all about establishing, again, that relationship, so that when we get to the point of Greg, I know you said A, B, and C, but can I just ask you about this one thing? It's really confusing with me. We already have the relationship. I know where you're coming from, and I'm better prepared to be able to answer the question. And I'm also more engaged, because I'm like, yes, you've done your due diligence to get to this point. You're obviously got skin in the game. Because if you just start out with like, hey, I got my Security Plus, how do I get that $100,000 job? I'm like, not by doing that. Sorry, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I agree completely. A lot of the things that I see, take this 2-week boot camp, you'll get $100,000 job. Hey, if you have these certifications, you're going to get XYZ. And in cybersecurity, obviously, a lot of people talk about the benefits of the money, but what they don't talk about is the amount of work it takes. Because to me, the hardest part was getting the job. That's the hardest part for me, because my end goal wasn't the job, it was the journey and continuing to go on it, because there's no finish line. Everything changes every day. There's new threats, there's new security tools, there's new knowledge and tools available to grow. And so capitalizing on that and building those relationships with people who are passionate about it as well, and coming with the mindset of, I'm not coming to take from you, I'm coming to build with you, is night and day difference in results and personal outcome as far as satisfaction, building that community.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important. So I interrupted twice. I'm not going to interrupt anymore. Finish your journey.
So on October 21st, 2024 was my first day at R3. And having no IT background, in 2018, if you would have asked me anything IT related, I would have just laughed, because I didn't understand. And so ultimately, taking that journey and having that challenge of learning something that I had no understanding or background in, to getting a job and coming into that environment, I have to praise R3, and not to be a shameless shout out, but the support I've had, the exposure I've had. I have the ability to talk to the CEO, the CTO, the COO, anybody in the organization, and they're receptive, they're encouraging, they're honest, and they want you to grow. They're not just trying to have you fill the blocks and do what you do. They want you to expand. They want you to see different aspects of the environment. And so I've been fortunate to have that, and to be able to really grow and continue to be a generalist and learn really good information, both technical and non-technical. And so that continuous knowledge, it's imperative. That's the part of cybersecurity people don't really talk about, is just because you have the job doesn't mean you can be content. You have to continuously grow personally, professionally, in every aspect, to stay up to date and stay valuable, not for the company, but for yourself.
Exactly. And I think that companies should also take note on that. We've always tried to follow the philosophy of mentorship. I bring on virtual CISOs to mentor them into their role and bring them up. So it's like, I can't mentor those that are just starting, for obvious reasons. I mean, the firm that I do, but there are other companies that like the one that you're with that see the value in doing that. And it's important to remember that don't be afraid of trying to mentor and grow them so much that you're going to lose them. It's like one of two things are going to happen. I mean, you're going to lose employees anyway. Nobody stays at the company for more than X number of years on average. I don't know, what is it, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. Maybe it's less nowadays. But that's okay. I mean, that's part of the career experience. You go to different areas, or sometimes you go to different levels within the same organization. Encourage the growth, because that makes a more productive employee, that makes a happier employee, that makes a better organization. And then if they leave, that's okay, because you have that culture of mentorship. People know that you're going to have new candidates coming in that are going to be fine. So I love to see that in the industry.
It is. And I will say this, and just for, everybody wanting to go through that journey and land that first job, I 100% believe that R3 didn't hire me purely off my technical knowledge. It was my passion, my eagerness, and my ability, especially when my first interview with Stephen Jones, he asked me a question about email security. I had no clue, and I had to make a decision. Do I try to fudge my way through it and try to make sense, or do I just look at him and go, "Sir, I don't know the answer"? And so obviously I went with the latter and said, "Sir, I don't know the answer, but I will find it and I will get back to you." And I
That is
think that's
Yeah, that is exactly the right answer, because we don't know everything, and sometimes we forget stuff too. And the worst thing you can do in an interview is to try to fudge things. The worst thing you can do is to be inauthentic, because people pick that up. It's very easy to pick up, and nobody wants an inauthentic employee, because if you're going to fudge something to me in an interview, how can I trust you when you're reporting to me on threats?
and that's 100% what he said is, I would rather have somebody that's honest about what they don't know. So when they come to me and say, "Hey, this is what's going on and this is what I don't know," they can actually trust it. Because that's a huge thing in any atmosphere is trust. I have
Hmm.
to know that what you say to me is what you truly believe. And if it's wrong, you're not going to try to argue it. You're going to go, "Hey, I was wrong. This is the updated information. Let's proceed." There's that humility of just being who you are and not trying to be something that you were not.
So I'm going to pivot into talking about White Hat Wes Cybersecurity in just a moment, but I am curious. I am always interested in folks that transfer from one field to another. And I ask this a lot, for example, of veterans that come out, because there's a lot of veterans that do it. There are some in law enforcement that I've spoken to beforehand as well, although it's been a while. But I'm curious, Wes, what's something that you took from your law enforcement experience that has translated well or supported you in your cybersecurity career endeavors?
The first thing that stands out to me is the ability to talk to people where they are. And that means knowing your audience, knowing their understanding, and not trying to speak in a manner that is not what they'll understand, and being compassionate and understanding what's going on, especially during cyber incidents. Not trying to be, "Well, hey, you didn't have MFA stood up, you didn't have all this, you didn't have XYZ." It's like, "Hey, this is what we've got going on. I know this is stressful. We're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out." And having that calm, confident composure that's contagious, and being
Mhm.
able to have that energy that just says, "I'm professional, but I'm also a person and I understand your stress. I may not feel your stress, but I understand how that affects you. And this is how we're going to resolve this and be better from it." So just having
Recently,
that understanding.
yeah, recently I was asked what is your, I don't know if the question was worded, what is your superpower, or what would you say is one of the qualities that defines you as far as success goes and all that? And immediately I said empathy.
Yep.
I think empathy is so important in our field for exactly the reasons you just said. It's like you're already in a crappy situation when there's an incident going on, and doing the finger pointing, or trying to cover your own butt, or whatever, any of that stuff, it just never works. Nor does talking down to people. Well, how could you not have MFA in place? Well, great. I didn't think I could feel any worse, Wes. Thanks a lot. Now it's like I just want to go out and chop off my head. It's like, and that does nothing for solving the problem. There's always times afterwards to do postmortem and figure out what went wrong, what you can do better, but also understanding that these things are going to happen. You can't have an environment like it's driving, for example. You can't have an environment where you're driving a car where there isn't the possibility of having an accident. It's the trade-off we have for the freedom of wanting to drive and the ability to want to drive on roads. It's like the truth is that there's going to be accidents, there's going to be deaths. I mean, it's just going to happen. But we prefer to take on that risk because of we want to live lives. It's the same thing with security. It's like we prefer to take on those risks because we want to run a business. If we didn't want to have any risks, then we wouldn't have a business. And I think people need to understand that there are trade-offs, and it can happen, and just manage through it with empathy, with understanding, and you'll get to the end point.
I agree completely. And that's one thing that my boss has really taught me a lot of is don't just come to a meeting or a situation listing all the problems. Try to, state the problem, but state possible solutions. Don't come in with the mindset of, oh, the house is on fire. It's like, okay, do we have a fire extinguisher? Do we have an escape ladder? Have we called the fire department? Come with resolution, not just, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I don't have anything to do. This is just a nightmare. It's like let's focus on the solution and not the problem.
And that's a great piece of advice. Those people, like I've encountered many in my life, and I've always considered them like corporate deadweight. It's like you're not contributing, and usually those are the ones that don't advance too far or have issues. But let's pivot to White Hat Wes Cybersecurity. That's a mouthful to say. That's why I keep looking down at it. I want to make sure I get it right. I know that you began that last year as well too, and very impressed with what you're doing and what the mission is. But I want you to start from the beginning of the why that you're doing it and what you're doing, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about how people can help and all that as well too.
Of course. So I started White Hat Wes Cybersecurity in October of 2024, and personally it started out as just kind of a portfolio for me to put projects, things I was learning, and then I started to think because I've been so fortunate to have people push me, provide me opportunities to learn, to grow. And so I kind of shifted my mindset from, hey, this is for me to, hey, I want to provide a platform for people that are curious about cybersecurity, want to put blog posts, YouTube videos, anything they can that they're learning to be able to share it with people and have people be able to reference that when they're thinking about hiring them. And so what started out as just kind of a personal project, I've wanted to turn it into allowing people to have a platform that they don't have to manage or worry about. They just have to post their content. And then currently what I've started doing is posting news updates, current cybersecurity events from news articles,
Mhm.
and not putting my opinion into them, but allowing people to hear it and be able to go, hey, I want to look into that more, and breaking down, major cybersecurity attacks like Stuxnet, SolarWinds, and events like that that provide a lot of information and insight that you might not get because there's often times where it's like, hey, for $9.99, you can get all this information. And so I don't want to have that limitation be set for people that like have families, that have jobs, that have bills and responsibilities. I want them to be able to go, hey, I need somewhere where I can get resources. And if I can't provide them, I'll try to find somebody that can and can put you in the roadmap that you want to be on. And so just providing that opportunity for people to come as they are with no regret, no questioning, no demoralization of it, to have that support structure. And that's really my biggest thing is I want people to have a place to come learn, to come grow, to come connect, and not feel any other way than, hey, this is home. I'm able to relax here. I'm able to learn. I'm able to ask questions. And so just really creating a community is the end goal.
No, I think that that's great, and that from what I caught from that, and correct me if I'm wrong. First, you started out by providing a platform for people to showcase their stuff, and then you expanded that to where you're offering resources to folks, so that it's easier for them to get some um, unfiltered threat intel, and without having to dig through themselves, and maybe some other resources that you come across that, and you're doing this all pro bono, or is there a fee involved?
For the most part, it's going to be pro bono. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, with business expenses and all that, there will be certain things that I will put a cost to, but it's not going to be a, hey, you got to pay $100 for this. It's, hey, what do what can you afford? What do you think is reasonable? Because at the end of the day, this is about sharing knowledge, but I also do have to cover business costs. So it's going to be very for the person for what fits their needs and not go, well, hey, this is really advanced. I have to charge you XYZ. I'm going to come to you as you are. and not go, you have to save up X amount of dollars. It's like, hey, what can you do right now? And there's no judgment with that. There's no, oh, well, that's not enough. It's, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to do what we can. And we're not going to, I hate the word gatekeep, but I'm not going to hide my information from you over a price tag.
No, I think that's great. And that I'd like to propose something to you. I have a book out there. It's in the 3rd edition, the Information Security for Small and Mid-Sized Businesses. It is designed to give businesses in plain terms information on not just the cyber aspect of security, but information security in general. And I found that practitioners have found great use in that as well. If this fits your model, I am willing to donate 50 e-copies to your site. Would just involve a code, and if someone is interested in that they can then just download the book, no strings attached, and I will also make myself available as I can if anybody has any questions. Is that something that might help your site?
I would love that, and I think a lot of people would benefit from that. Just, I can only provide what I know. The best opportunity for people is to have different insights, so that would be phenomenal.
Okay, well, when we're done with the recording, stay on the line and the producer will get your information. I just love saying that because I'm the producer. It's like you always hear people say that. And I'm like, that sounds so cool.
They're like, they're like, that is awesome.
So we'll make that work. And how can someone get involved in this site? What's the URL?
The URL is whitehatwes.com. I took out the cybersecurity, so it wasn't a mouthful. And you can also find it on my LinkedIn. I'm Wesley Widner, and we have a contact form. It says client contact submission. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to, I'm going to respond to you, and we're going to make that happen. So if you want to reach out to me, that's the best way, or message me on LinkedIn. I'll get back to you and we'll get moving.
Yeah. Wes, you've discovered the secret sauce here, and that is, the secret. I tell folks that you always, how do I word it? If you have a heart of a servant, you'll always be successful. And the rationale behind that is that you value service over everything else. And when you serve, you're fulfilling your value right there. And we need more of that in information security and cybersecurity. So I applaud you doing that.
Thank you.
And I always have to attribute this to Evan Francine. I have the name right. I'm sorry if I'm having a brain drain there. The CEO of FR Secure and Secure Studio. His mantra that he tells his folks is focus on the mission, not the money. If you focus on the mission, the money will follow. If you focus on the money, you'll never fulfill the mission. And I can say from experience of doing this over 35 years, that's completely correct. So,
and I agree completely, because that's something that, I don't want to say I don't struggle with, because, everybody wants to have more money. Everybody wants to be more comfortable. But if all you do is focus on the money, you're never going to feel satisfied, because I can make more. But if you're focusing on making an impact and providing your service without expectation of making $1 million, you're going to feel a lot more satisfied, because you're building those connections and you're helping. And so that's more satisfactory for the soul than for anything else.
That's the service. The heart of a servant, you'll always be successful, because you have completed, you have gained the warm fuzzy of serving, and it's worth more than any paycheck. Now, I have told people, though, it's just like when I'll come in and I'm saying, well, we're talking about this project, and I'm like, well, the money isn't necessarily important here. It's like, okay, well, we won't pay you anything. And I'm like, no. I don't give away time either, because time is the most valuable resource we have. Okay, there's two things here going on. But kudos to you. But all of this has got to be very stressful. I mean, not only learning and getting into and keeping up with stuff in cybersecurity, because as you said, it's there's not a destination. There's always ever learning stuff. Things are always changing, and it can be stressful. But also being an entrepreneur, running a business, and planning it out, and all the stuff that goes along with there, all that is very stressful. And I encourage folks on this podcast and in life otherwise that you need to decompress in a manner that is healthy and that makes you happy and gives you that warm fuzzy. What's one of the things you do to decompress from all those stresses, Wes?
So I've always struggled with this, and I think many people do. And thankfully, my wife has really helped me kind of realign that. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things I do to help decompress is once my day's over, I close my office door and I go spend time with my daughter and my wife. And I really just, I try my best. I'm not always successful, but to just be in the moment with them,
Mm-hmm.
because I have found now that I have a daughter, I'm a lot more emotional. And so being able to sit and just see how much she grows and how she just is a ray of sunshine. And I just want to continue to be able to experience that and absorb it, because her happiness is contagious. It makes me happy. It makes my wife happy. So
Mm-hmm.
really being able to spend time with them is my biggest decompressor. And I will say, over the last few weeks, I've started reading my Bible, and I will say that's lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders and provided me a lot of comfort and motivation that, despite what all I'm doing, my family and my faith are my most important things in life. And so at the end of the day, if my wife and my child are healthy, happy, and whole, and I'm strong in my faith, I can't complain about anything. I'm very blessed at the end of the day. And so that's really helped me, especially reading the Bible, put everything into perspective that I've forgotten about, that I've taken for granted. It's made me grounded in what really matters.
That's what I love the testimony, and in particular, including the Bible, in that I made me think that every Friday I lead. I should say I just coordinate, and I'm the secretary, I guess I could say, a men's Bible study group in my church from 6:30 to 7:30, and usually the first half hour is coffee, catching up, prayer requests, praise reports, that sort of stuff. So we just, by the time we get into whatever it is we are supposed to be studying, it usually takes a while. But yeah, we spent the last half hour, and then more so because I had to leave at 7:30, and they continued talking simply on John 3:8, and talking about Nicodemus and his motivation, his questioning and trying to find the truth. And it's amazing. You can read the Bible and read it for, I want to get through it. And that's when I did it. I've read the Bible completely, and I don't know, probably about 15 times now. No, probably not that much. Probably like a dozen times. But it's not about speed. Sometimes you just get stuck on a verse or something, and you can hang there for like a week, and it's cool. So I'm glad to hear that. Just the great journey.
Very much so. And it's like you said, it's not about getting through it. It's about being in that moment and truly appreciating it and understanding how much we've been blessed with. And
Yeah,
that
for the most part, but Leviticus is all about getting through. I'm sorry. So, that's just me. So future plans. What you got planned with anything and everything that you'd like to mention?
Ultimately, we talked about jumping job to job every couple years as part of the experience. I've always joked and told R3 that you're either going to have to fire me or retire me. The
Ah,
opportunity to grow is there, the opportunity to learn is there, but
that's
most
great.
importantly, they allow me to have time with my family that I maybe otherwise I wouldn't get. And so that is my goal, is to still be at R3 20 years from now, but also be in a position where I can mentor people. And titles are cool and everything, but I want people to be able to come to me regardless of where they're at, what job they have, and be able to talk to me and get honest feedback and support. And so at the end of the day, at the 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I just want to continue to be in a mentoree role where I'm continuing to learn and share that with people.
You know, before my career days, it was not uncommon for someone to spend their entire career at one company. By the time that I stepped in, and for the majority of my career, I go along with the advice of what one of my mentors told me back in 99, 2000, 2001, something like that. That you should never stay at a job more than 7 years because you stifle growth. And I'm like, okay. Nowadays, like, spin back like maybe a year or so ago, it's like, it seems like that people jump like every year or two, and they climb the ladder that way. But perhaps, given your testimony, maybe we're seeing a pendulum shift the other way, because I would love to see that when you have someone that stays dedicated to a company for time measured in not in years, but in decades, the relationship and the camaraderie and the purpose, that all gels together so well. It's like unlike anything that's seen out there. So I love your story, Wes. I wish you the best of luck with regards to everything. You're a great person, great inspiration, and a great service to the information security. And I appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. This is exciting for me. I've been talking about it for weeks to my friends and my family about this opportunity.
That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing you again next time I'm in the Huntsville area. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And everybody, stay secure.